cross now over to Adam Hancock, who's following the summit for us in Singapore. Adam, good to see you. The concern expressed there by Lloyd Austin shows us that the tensions between the two sides, the United States and China, is essentially headlining the event.
Absolutely, yes. It's dominated the build-up to this summit here, really. The situation with both of the defense ministers not meeting on the sidelines. And really, US-China tensions dominated Lloyd Austin's speech as well. He talked about a lot of regional issues, but many of them kept coming back to China, really. He said Washington's main aim was to secure what he described as a free and open Indo-Pacific region, with countries allowed to thrive without fear of intimidation or bullying, in what really was quite a thinly veiled reference to China. He also talked about Taiwan and the situation with China and Taiwan, saying that any potential conflict there would be devastating for the rest of the world. But he did say that a conflict was neither imminent nor inevitable. So he did add that caveat in, and he said that the US would prefer that the status quo was maintained when it comes to China and Taiwan. And really, communication was a big theme as well. Lloyd Austin was keen for communication lines to remain open between Washington and Beijing. And really, communication has been the talk of this summit, because there's been no talks between the top defense chiefs of the US and China. Now, just a few hours after Lloyd Austin spoke, a Chinese official spoke to some of the media here at the summit. He hit back at a lot of the claims that Lloyd Austin had made. And we can expect a lot more of that tomorrow, because we're going to hear from the new Chinese defense minister. He is going to be speaking in his own keynote speech tomorrow morning. And really, we would expect him to counter a lot of what Lloyd Austin has said already.
We'll see what General Lee has to say. All right. The war in Ukraine is obviously another talking point this weekend. What do we expect on that? What's happened so far?
Well, Alexei Reznikov, the Ukrainian defense minister, is here at the Shangri-La Dialogue, and he's been very busy. He's been meeting with a number of defense officials, including Lloyd Austin. And he's here really on behalf of President Zelensky with a very simple aim. And that aim is to continue to get support for efforts from Ukraine against Russia. So trying to secure more military deals, trying to secure more military aid. Last year, 12 months ago, President Zelensky was doing the same. He joined this summit virtually, but this year the Ukrainian defense minister is here on the ground. There's no delegates here from Russia, but there are a lot of European defense ministers in Singapore this weekend, and we believe they're going to speak to a lot of their counterparts in Asia to try and drum up more support from this region for their efforts to try and support Ukraine and counter Russia, with the feeling from some European defense ministers that countries in Asia have not been doing enough to back them. And now the EU's chief foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, he is also here in Singapore this weekend, and he's been speaking about the war in Ukraine. Here's what he had to say.
We don't want the peace, which is the peace of the cemeteries, the peace of the surrender, the peace of the stronger, the peace that makes Ukraine a second Belarus. But yes, the war will finish. So the question is not to finish the war, but how do we finish the war? And that's why we continue supporting Ukraine, although we want peace as much as anyone else in this room.
So we could expect a lot of conversations around the war in Ukraine, especially once the Ukrainian defense minister has spoken. That conflict is watched closely in this region over fears that it could escalate, dragging in China, for example, and also fears that a similar conflict could be replicated in this part of the world one day with China and Taiwan. So plenty of attention might now turn from those US-China tensions more to the war in Ukraine, and listening closely to what the defense minister has to say.
All right. Adam Hancock live for us at the Shangri-La Summit in Singapore with the latest. Thank you.